What's up everyone, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John and it's time for a review of the highly anticipated sophomore album K-12 by the rather unique pop artist Melanie Martinez. K-12 obviously representing the American school system, kindergarten through 12th grade when you graduate high school. This has a visual film that goes along with it, a full-length feature actually, an hour and a half. Melanie Martinez wrote, directed, and starred in this, but I just wanted to float this out there. A note from the critic, if you will. I'm only reviewing the album because I strongly believe that an album should be able to stand on its own 2 feet and be able to speak for itself without the aid of an accompanying film. So just like Lemonade by Beyonce, which is a great album and also the visuals are awesome, I'm purely rating this and giving thoughts on it based on the music itself. So when I reviewed Melanie's debut album Crybaby in 2015, I was kind of caught off guard by how much I actually did enjoy the album. There were these dark, twisted themes and tracks like Tag You're It, Pity Party, Soap, Training Wheels that I still continue to really enjoy, but also it had the childhood innocence, which is obviously what she was going for. It was a narrative, it was a concept record. Crybaby was the primary antagonist and protagonist here. There were a lot of conflicts on that album, and I liked the way that it worked things out, and it also had some rather unique production, mainly due to Kinetics and One Love, a duo that teamed up. Now, unfortunately, there's only one song on this album, Drama Club, that's actually produced by them. The rest was done by Michael Keenan. You might know him for actually working with Madison Beer on her As She Pleases EP that dropped in 2018. I've never personally been a huge fan of his production style, and here on this record, K-12, we go on a journey with Melanie, and that much is clear. There were no singles released from this record, just some snippets. I chose not to listen to any of those simply because she wanted the album to be a full experience, so I wanted to go in cold with no expectations other than, well, it's been a tumultuous couple of years for Melanie Martinez, and I'm very curious to see how album number 2 is going to sound, especially since she said it was done for about 2.5 years before it actually saw the light of day. Kinetics and One Love definitely deserve a shout out for what they were able to accomplish with Melanie Martinez, and also she deserves one, of course, because of the songwriting and everything that they brought to the table. But with all of them paired up, it just seemed like they were able to create magic, something that obviously not many people in pop or in music were doing at all. They were making things that required a little bit more thought from the listener, and that definitely continues on K-12. But the most disappointing thing about this record for me is the fact that Michael Keenan, as a producer, makes so many choices that make this album feel monotonous, tedious, and also sometimes that blame does fall on Melanie as well, because sure, it's a slow burn in some ways, and a lot of the tracks just feel like they're muddling around, just kind of paddling in shallow water, going in circles, and there's always the standouts that bring things back to life, but there's also a lot of choices that I just don't agree with, both musically and lyrically. I'll touch on this more once I get to the track list breakdown, but I do feel that there are a decent amount of songs that make great stylistic choices. It's not all doom and gloom. I don't outright hate this album. Don't get the wrong idea just from watching the first couple of minutes of this review, because there's certainly a lot of entertaining factors, but also, again, the parallels that Melanie draws between real-life situations, from her own social anxiety, from what she sees in the world, and how she compares it to things that we see in school. Perhaps if we've already grown up, then we already remember those things, or if we're going through it now, I'm sure a lot of the listeners are going to relate to it for a myriad of different reasons. There's hope, there's lust, there's sadness, there's madness, there's fighting, there's ambiguity, there's a lot of skewed lines that aren't probably meant to be fully comprehended by anyone other than Melanie, but the fact is that when she floats these ideas and these notions out there, it's effective about half the time, and the other half, it feels a little bit less consequential, which is definitely frustrating to me as somebody who is a fan of Melanie Martinez's music. Wheels on the Bus opens up K-12, and obviously the wheels on the bus go round and round is where that got its title from. This is a song that does draw some interesting comparisons to real life situations. It talks about the bus driver not giving a shit basically about what's going on, about what all the kids are doing. Perhaps that's a nod to the president not caring about what all the people in the country are doing. Not saying that it's necessarily then, but also there was a Trump-like character in the film, so it makes sense that possibly this could be the explanation for this one. Of course, there's a lot of different interpretations for these tracks, and I do enjoy Wheels on the Bus. It's catchy enough, it has a nice vocal charm to it in some ways, but it also does get a little bit tedious the more you listen to it. Show and Tell was a big standout moment for me. Melanie's been a little bit closed off in terms of the way that she processes her own social anxiety, which is very understandable. There's been a few clips out there that have showed that Melanie obviously doesn't handle it very well when there's a lot of people approaching her, swarming her, wanting a photo, wanting to talk to her, and that's extremely understandable. It does kind of come with the celebrity status and territory, I suppose, but also I like the way this song kind of tinkers with the idea of being on display for you fuckers to see. It's a kind of shot at the fans, and I respect that she's not afraid to tell them to basically back the hell off on a few tracks on this album. It's not just show and tell, but this one obviously puts it on display, if you will, better than some of the other cuts. Strawberry Shortcake is one of the songs that deals with personal perception and the way that everybody else looks at us. Judgment is a huge factor, especially we feel that growing up in school, so many young people, and it's so unfortunate the way that people get called ugly, the way that people are just looked down upon for possibly being different or being a part of a different community, enjoying something that somebody else doesn't enjoy. And I think that Strawberry Shortcake is a conflicting moment for me because I do like the message of the track, but again, the musical quality of it can get slightly irritating. There's other songs on this album that definitely do that. I think the principle, again, draws up those lines and expects us to fall into that and immediately get on board, but I just don't know if I'm quite there. There's other songs on this record, even Orange Juice, that talk about very important topics, and I think an eating disorder is the obvious explanation for that one in particular, but I just, again, feel a little bit torn because it does put it out there, but it also doesn't really do that much to push the conversation forward in any way. It's more so just almost a retelling of events, and also the production, the music on it, not really doing that much of anything. To turn things more positive, I'm loving Teacher's Pet. This is a song that touches on some very sensitive topics, and obviously the idea of a student-teacher relationship. This is unfortunately something that I have witnessed firsthand myself, something that almost tore a small school apart in some ways, and I know how this can be. It happens. I've heard so many stories, even from my friends, even from my own girlfriend, that's talked about this, and it's really playing out in a very dramatic way, but also I love the way that she puts it out there to the audience. Teacher's Pet, why do you get the attention? And she's basically quoting this friend that's saying, you know, obviously, why can't I be the center of your life? I know you got a wife and kids, but we should be together. Don't you care about me too? And also the music on this one is gripping. I love the percussion here, the way that that drips in. It builds suspense, and that's something that Crybaby did very well that this album doesn't often get right, at least not hitting the nail on the head. This song absolutely does. Drama Club is equally as fascinating. I love the way that the pianos play in the background to kind of create a mood on this one, that it just kind of breaks out of a shell. And again, Kinetics and One Love producing this track, only track on the album that they did, and it stands out in a major way on that playing field. But also, I feel that Melanie really lays it out there with the way that she talks about the Drama Club. I don't want to say that this is addressing any allegations because I think this was one of the earliest songs that she finished for the record, so who knows entirely what it's directed at. But obviously, a public figure that's having their dirty laundry or really anything about them just being put out there, she's saying, I didn't sign up for your Drama Club, implying that I didn't sign up to have my life on display for everybody, something that she touched on in the other track Show and Tell, and she touches on it again here. To briefly discuss a few of the other songs, I found Class Fight to be extremely aggravating. I don't like the vocals on that one. They just feel so choppy, so up and down through a valley, and the way that the song is telling its story, it just gets under my skin for a myriad of different reasons. However, there are other songs on the album that I do like, some others that I feel maybe I might come back to in the future. Recess was a nice closer. It left the listener with a little bit of hope, which I can appreciate, I can respect that. Kind of a chat with her grandmother on that one, it seems, basically saying, don't let these fuckers get away with this, don't let them tell you exactly what to do. They want the dollar signs, they want the money out of you, don't let them squeeze you like a piggy bank. And also, the track that precedes that is another one of my top favorites. It actually grew on me a whole lot because I found it slightly off-putting at first, but High School Sweethearts, it has this nice way that it leads it in, a little bit more acoustic-based at first, but then it breaks down the door, and I love the chorus here because it seems to talk about how we expect so much out of our relationships, and if not, then you're canceled. If I haven't made it obvious already, then I am indeed pretty torn on this record. I don't want to be a fence sitter here, but I do feel that the fence is almost running straight through the barn, and one half of the barn is like on fire, and I'm like, oh, that's not sounding so good. I don't agree with some of these choices. I think that it's a little bit off-putting. The songwriting could have been better and a lot more memorable, but then the other half of the barn, it's got these strong support beams, and they're like there lifting the barn up, holding it in place, and I'm like, okay, these are really solid. This was a great follow-up. This is a little bit more mature. This is what I expected after Crybaby. I do consider this a disappointment. I'm giving this a light 3 out of 5. Of course, I would love to know what you think because that's just my opinion, my take on things, so sound off tastefully and respectfully in the comment section down below. Be nice to each other. What the hell am I thinking? Be nice to other people? No, be nice to me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure some of you will not be, and that's fine. If you do respect my opinion, I always appreciate that because I'll respect yours as well. Anyways, if you want to see my thoughts on Crybaby by Melanie, then tap that card there, or tap here for another recent pop review. All of my social media accounts, including my Patreon page if you'd like to help support the channel, can be found down below, and I'll see you soon for more right here on ARTV.